that making sales or booking new clients is important to you. So whether you are looking to bring on new students in your studio, or if you want to make more sales for your music membership or your online course, we're going to talk about getting strategic today, because just hoping for sales to happen is not the best strategy. So we're going to be going through 3 key elements, because in order to have new clients, you have to have leads. In order to get leads, you need a way to attract your audience. And in order to attract an audience, you need to know your ideal clients. So we're going to break down those 3 key elements of audience building, lead generation, and making sales so that you can get strategic with growing your business. So welcome to the broadcast, everyone. If you are joining me live, be sure to say hello and let me know where you're tuning in from. If you're watching this on the replay, know that I love to come back and have conversations with you. So I really look forward to you jumping into the conversation. Okay, so we're going to get started here with this topic of the day. But before we get to fancy musics and intros and everything, I wanted to show you this little guy. Earlier this week, I posted a picture of this. I'll bring it closer for the YouTubes and the Facebook peoples. This little plant, it's kind of a little sad looking right now, but it's brand new. And I posted a picture of this plant and I said, what does this have to do with making sales in your business? For those who don't know this about me, I am the crazy plant lady, and I have, I think, currently over 45 houseplants in my house, and I just keep making more plants because that's the cool thing about plants. Like, plants make more plants, and I don't even have to buy plants anymore. They just multiply. And as I was working on repotting some things last weekend, it got me thinking about the process of, nurturing our business and making sales. So we're going to have a few plant analogies with us today, I believe. Hey there, Phil. Phil is tuning in. Nice to see you. Are you back in Colorado yet? Or are you still in Arizona? Okay, so we're going to get to this process of making sales in your business and breaking down all the elements. But first, let me introduce myself for those who are new. My name is Sara Campbell, and I'm a business strategist, mindset, and marketing coach for music studio owners and online education experts like yourself. And I go live here every Wednesday where we talk about those topics. And today we're digging into the business topics, and we're going to get really strategic with how we can set ourselves up for success in making sales, whether that is getting new clients or making sales of your memberships or online courses. We're going to break it all down today. But before we get into that, let's play a little music. All right. Okay. I see you're still in Nevada there. I had the wrong state. My apologies, Phil. Susan Stevenson is tuning in from Ohio. Fantastic. Welcome to the broadcast. If you have a teacher friend who would benefit from joining in on this conversation today, if you could take a moment to let them know that this is happening, I would truly appreciate it. For those who are over on YouTube, if you're new and you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications. We do 2 videos every week at Savvy Music Studio. We have our live Wednesday broadcast where you get the opportunity to jump into the conversation with us. And on Fridays, we release our quick tip videos on YouTube. So for those of you who haven't checked those out yet, please do. We have about 7 that have been released over the last 7 weeks. So every Friday, look for new quick tip videos to drop there as well. Good morning and afternoon to Brenda and Karen. Nice to see you both. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, we have the Savvy Sara bot set up and ready to go. So that's the wrong word. I thought I had it all done. Let's fix it. If you drop the word sales below, breaking up the place, then you will be able to get a hold of the goodies from the Savvy Sarah bot. She will deliver those to you via Messenger, and you'll be able to get all the goodness. You'll also get an invitation to join the email list. We put out good stuff every week, and we're going to be putting out, as I'm editing something here real quick, we are going to be putting out lots of other good stuff there as well. So join the email list, and you can also get notifications for when we go live delivered directly to your phone, which is kind of cool. So all right. We love to have conversations here. So as I drop these tips today, I invite you to join in the conversation with giving us your hashtag takeaway and let us know what tip you hear that is valuable to you. So I'm excited to share these with you. Let's get to it. Okay. So, oh my gosh. Okay. So this is a throwback to last week's broadcast. Karen said that she ordered some frog stickers. So if that is confusing to you, then I invite you to go watch the previous video. And then the frog stickers will make sense. Karen, I think that's fantastic. Okay, so let me see here. Is this our... Okay, so here we go. Let's get started. So the biggest issue that I see when it comes to music studio owners or like online course creators with making sales is that we have a tendency, myself included, to think of the sales first, right? So if you are trying to get new clients or you're trying to sell an online course, we get very super focused on making the actual sale. And if we only focus on making the sale and putting out the advertisements and the marketing, then we've missed some foundational pieces. So let's see if I can make a plant analogy here, right? So I have this little lovely, it's a type of sedum. I had to Facebook source to figure out what this was because I forgot. And it would be like me taking these little guys off the plant that I propagated them from, and instead of giving them a lovely pot that's been curated and has the right type of soil in it, it's been moistened with water, and I've like dug really nice little holes for them to go in there, just me like shoving them into a pot. And if I do that, right, and I haven't given them enough love and care when I've transplanted them, they may not take. So it's the same thing with sales, right? If we are jumping immediately to trying to push that sale, and there's different types of selling. There's pull marketing, like there's pull-centered marketing and there's push-centered marketing. If we focus on push-centered marketing, then the issue is that we run the risk of, and this is a phrase that one of my coaches, Molly Mahoney, uses, coming across like a salesy weirdo. And I know that none of you want to come across like a salesy weirdo. Hey there, Jennifer Jackson's over on Instagram, and so is 88 Keys of Miami. Nice to see you both. We're having a conversation about sales. Do you know what I mean, though, by the salesy weirdo thing? Like, have you come across businesses that are a bit salesy weirdo, and you might just have been introduced to that business and they are immediately jumping into trying to push you into a sales conversation? Sometimes that happens in the form of like slick people sliding into your DMs and asking leading questions, or just straight up asking for the sale. We don't want to do that, right? We're smarter marketers than that. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to take this issue, right? And we're going to reverse engineer it. So instead of thinking about the sales first, we're going to reverse engineer this process. And so I'm actually it's kind of interesting. I'm going to be walking through this from the sales backwards so that you can start thinking about, well, what would be strategic for my business and how can I build out these elements, these keys in a way that works for my business, because we all have unique businesses and, your business might need something else than another business needs. So there we go. Oh, I forgot to mention the YouTubers. If you are looking for a link to get a hold of the stuffs, if you look on YouTube, I've just popped a little link there. You can click that link and we'll come back and get this started. Okay. I see a lot of people dropping the word sales down below. Excellent. So the Savvy Sarah bot will be reaching out to you. Perfect. Okay. All right. Welcome to Jack TM over on Instagram. Nice to see you. Okay, so we're going to reverse engineer this process. Let's break it down, shall we? Key area. I'm lying. We're going backwards. Key area number 3, right? So it should say number 1. Can I double check that? Did I not? No, I've got it. No, I just didn't think of the numbers backwards. Okay. So immediately we think about making sales, right? We think about, all right, in order for me to make the sales, I just have to make the offers. Let's back that up a bit. So let's break down the sales process into a few different elements. Elements. All right. So first, we need to know what your sales process looks like, right? So let's talk about how many of those who are watching right now or on the replay, what type of sales are you making? Are you service-based only? Are you doing one-on-one lessons or group lessons? Or I'd love to know for those who may be more in the online sphere, do you have a membership that you've launched? Do you have courses that you're selling? So drop down below what type of service or product you're focused on. And then we're going to break this down. So in this particular step, we're going to look at knowing what your sales process looks like. We're going to look at what does making the offer look like. And we're going to ask the question when is it appropriate for me to run ads, right? So the sales process, actually making the sale, there can be many different elements that go in there. Hey there, Kristen from Sand Dollar Music Studio. Nice to see you. Okay, so I see Karen says that she's focused on one-on-one in-person lessons. Okay, great. So with the one-on-one in-person lessons, have you taken a moment to sit down and really think about what that sales process entails? And, have you written out a standard operating procedure, an SOP, around what needs to occur? Maybe that means, oh, well, thank you, Kristen. I curled my hair and it makes me feel so fancy. Have you written things down so that it's easier for you to follow that process? Have you created templates for yourself so that you're not having to constantly reinvent the wheel when you're leading a client through the sales process? Other questions to ask yourself would be, is my sales process easy? How many steps do people have to take in order to sign up at the studio or in order to purchase a course or a product that you might be selling? What does that look like? So in that, circling back to that, knowing what that process looks like, right? What is my sales process? Write down the steps. And then what does the making the offer process looks like? Hey there, Pete's joining us over on Instagram. Nice to see you. I see Susan is saying that she also offers one-on-one and group lessons. Excellent. So in making the offer, what does that look like? Oftentimes we think about, okay, I need to make sales. So I'm just going to put out, I'm going to put out a lot of posts or emails about the fact that I have open spots. And then you sit and you wait and you hope for those sales to come in. Well, what if we revisited that process, right? This is an important question that I often ask my clients. How many offers have you made this week? What conversations have you had with people? And I know that can feel a little intimidating and, kind of like putting yourself out there. But what are the offers that you've made? Have you had conversations with people and invited them to check things out? And what do those conversations look like? Remember earlier in the broadcast, we said something about those slick people who slide into your DMs and, they immediately jump into making the sale. Okay. That's not going to work, right? People are smarter than that. And we also don't want to be salesy weirdos. So that's why in reverse engineering that, we keep in mind, okay, so if I'm going to make the offer, I need to build some foundations. And we're going to get to those foundations in a moment, right? If coming back to this really loose plant analogy, if you're going to plant these dudes in some soil, you got to prep this soil, right? You've got to dig the holes. You've got to maybe use root tone. I did that on this one. We're going to see if that makes a difference or not. Anybody else out there plant obsessed like me? I'm really hoping that this guy does okay. I should probably just leave it alone. Anyway, I see. Okay, great. Lessons by Victoria is joining us over on YouTube. She says, one-on-one lessons online and in person, and printable compositions, games, etc. aimed at teachers. Ah, that's fantastic, Victoria. Thank you. Hey there, Desiree. Nice to see you over on the YouTubes. Okay, so let's keep moving here. We're going to now I want to address one more thing on this key area before we reverse engineer and we're going to back it up. So one of the things that I want to mention is that question that that I mentioned earlier. I'm saying the word mention a lot. That's okay. So the question is, when should I run ads? Now, again, this is kind of a knee-jerk reaction when we know that we need to bring on new clients or we know that we need to make new sales. We immediately jump into spending money on advertisements. Now, I am not saying that advertisements are bad. And in fact, I run ads quite frequently. But those ads need to be, one, they need to be targeted at either one or two things. They're either targeted at making the sale. And if they are targeted at making the sale, if you're looking at like Facebook ads or something like that, I would, it opens up a conversation about how we retarget people who might be warmer audience members, or it needs to be targeted at actually just generating leads. So, in answering that question, we have to back it up and we have to look at what's the foundation that's happened before this. So I invite you, your first step here is to really think about what making the sale looks like in your studio and start writing down some SOPs around what happens. Now let's back it up to key area number 3. But before we do that, I'd love to know, for those who are watching, what is it in that first area that we mentioned, right? We went through knowing the sales process, we went through making the offers, and we talked about running ads. Which one of those areas do you need to focus on right now? And I'd love you to share that below, and I can come back and have good conversation with you. So let's move on to the second area here. Okay, so key area number 2. So in order to make sales, we have to have leads. So let's break down the lead generation process and talk about the things that may be important in this area. So a couple of things, right? One, I want to talk about calls to action. So right before the sales process occurs, something that is really important is that we've got to make sure that people know what to do. We need to make it easy for them to initiate that sales process, to initiate that checkout process. So we want to examine, what do our calls to action look like? Now, a call to action is asking somebody to do something. It's asking them to take an action. So in this lead generation area, we want to make sure that our calls to action are clear. This could be, re-examining your website to see, with fresh eyes, pretending that you are a customer, going through your website and looking at okay, well, where are my calls to action? And does it lead people into an inquiry? Does it lead people to signing up for something? Does it lead them to joining your email list? So that's one area, having clear calls to action so that people can mark themselves as a lead. And that could be just a good example for those of you who are focused on one-on-one lessons. It could be having some type of a form that they can fill out. Maybe it's just a native form on your website, or it could be a button that leads to them emailing you. It could also be a form that leads to your scheduling system, whether you're using something like My Music Staff or Duet Partner or maybe Fonz or Acuity. What does that call to action look like? Another area here is to talk about would be social proof. So in creating leads and inviting people to join the process, it's really important to let people know what the experience is like in your business. So part of that lead generation process needs to focus on making sure that you have good social proof, right? So social proof is user-generated content, normally. And when I say user generated, I mean the client actually generates this content, and that could be in the form of a review that they leave on your socials or your Google My Business, which, by the way, Google My Business has been renamed and it is now Google Business Profiles. And if you didn't know this announcement, the Google My Business app is being retired, and you're going to be editing your Google My Business listing now through Google Maps and Google Search. So that's a whole topic that we've been chatting about in the Social Media Savvy Studio. All right, so back to what I was saying. I'm getting distracted here. So we need to make sure that we have good visible social proof on our places. So I'd love to know right now, for those of you who are watching, when's the last time you asked for a review, or when's the last time you posted a testimonial from your clients? So put down below in the comments, when's the last time you've put some social proof out there? Social proof doesn't have to be reviews. It can also be user-generated content like a photo or, a screenshot of a text. If you have permission to share those things, if they're really excited about something and they texted you and said like, oh my gosh, I totally was able to play this song this week and it made me really happy. Whatever, it can take all kinds of forms. If there's anyone here who wants to learn more about social proof, I have an entire video that's dedicated to that. And if you want to get a hold of that, just put social proof down below and I will reach out to you to give you that link. Okay, so summing up this area of lead generation, we need to have clear calls to action. We need to know what that process looks like. We need to know that we are actually inviting people to join our lists. We are inviting people to inquire about joining the studio, or we are making it easy for people to ask questions so that we can initiate a good conversation to see if your business will be a good fit for them. Now, we're going to back it up one step further, and that brings us to key area number 1, building an audience. So, back to the plant analogy, right? So I mentioned, making the sale here. That's actually planting these little shoots into the soil. But creating the lead, before that, we need to give them a place to go, right? We need to make it inviting for them. So that might mean pushing down little holes in here so that you're not just forcing the roots in and then breaking them off. I told you this analogy was going to be loose. And then when it comes to building the audience, that's actually preparing the pot, right? It's preparing the pot. It's filling it with good soil. It's nurturing it. And it's understanding what that specific type of plant needs in terms of soil. We're going to leave that analogy there. I think I've taken it far enough. But let's break down what building an audience might look like. So there are a few things that I want you to check out and see if you're doing. Okay. All right, cool. Just checking out the Instagram people. Y'all doing okay over there? Good. All right. 1, we want to create content that speaks to our audience, right? So in order for that to happen, you need to know who your ideal clients are, and you need to know the type of content that is going to speak to them. And focus your marketing plan around that content. So I'd love to know, if you're watching live or on the replay, what type of clients are you trying to attract to your business, right? So I want you to comment down below. What type of clients are you trying to attract, and get specific about them? What are they looking for? Are they young piano students that are just beginners? Are they adults who are returning to an instrument? Are they hoping to pick up a hobby that they've never tried before? Are they pros, and are they hoping to really hone their skills so that they can make a better living with their musical life? I'd love for you to mention what type of clients you are searching for, because then we can have a good conversation about the type of content that you need to put out, right? So I'll come back with some ideas for you. So let me know who you're trying to attract, and then we can talk about the content. Another step in this building an audience section, it's very important to be findable. So if you're hoping to build an audience, we need to have different platforms that we can be visible on. And I'm not just always talking about online platforms. Many times especially when I'm working with one-on-one clients, we get very specific about what networking looks like in their local community so that they can become more visible and that other businesses and human beings know that they're there, right? Because if you are serving a local community, a local service area, if everything that you are doing is only focused on online, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities, right? So really focusing in on how can I become findable? Are people going to be able to find me through a Google search? Are they going to be able to find me on social media? Are they going to hear about me in community centers? Are they going to hear about me in the local newspaper? There's so many different options out there for us to explore. So we need to think about how findable are we? And this all comes back to the concept of what do you know about your client? So if you really understand your ideal client, then you're going to know where they look for things, where they get their sources of news, where they get suggestions for businesses that they should try out. And, that's going to really inform what this key area looks like. It's going to give you strategies and tactics that you can use in order to build an audience. I see, okay, we've got some good comments here. I'm going to bring them up. I see Karen says she's looking for adults returning to piano. Just got a new student and we had our first lesson yesterday. So excited. Congratulations, Karen. That's great. Maggie says all theory students wanting to learn quickly to take exams. Okay, fabulous. And expanding on that, theory students wanting group theory classes in addition to their piano instrument lessons. Susan says that she focuses on babies, 0 to 3, and parents and children 3 to ? She's a Suzuki violin teacher. Okay, fabulous. Okay, this is really good information. I see we have a question from Brandon Bascom over on YouTube, and this is fun. Okay, not related to today, but I love it. What is your favorite course creation platform? So it really depends on what type of a course you're creating, how interactive you want it to be, and what type of a website you currently run. So there's a lot of questions to ask around that. I love Teachable, and that's partly because I used it for many, many years. I created tons of courses on Teachable, and I found the platform to be very user-friendly. But there are so many other options out there. Kajabi, that's like the Mercedes of course creation. You have Thinkific, you have Udemy. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. And of course, you have other options as well. You don't necessarily need to have a course creation platform. There are ways to build out your own inside of something like WordPress. And even Squarespace has like membership site options. So really is a very individualized answer, but I'm glad that you asked that today. Thank you. All right. So let's summarize today. We're going to wrap it all up in a nice, neat little bow. If there are any additional questions, please be sure to pop them into the comments, and I will return after the broadcast is over to answer those questions. Here we go. Little clap. Okay, so you probably want to bring on new clients, or you want to make sales for your music membership or your online course. And in order to do that, we need to have a solid sales process. And in order to do that, we have to understand that to make sales, we need to have leads. To have leads, we need to have an audience. And to have an audience, we need to understand what our audience needs. So we're going to break this down real quick. Like, if you do want to get a hold of these show notes, drop a sales down below, and I will reach out to you to give you the show notes from today and all of the things that we've covered. So here's the issue. The biggest issue is that people jump directly into trying to make the sale or to run advertisements without thinking of the foundations that happen first. And if we do that, things can fall flat because the audience doesn't necessarily know or trust you yet, and you can come across like a salesy weirdo. So what we're going to do here is reverse engineer this process, and we're going to go look at 3 different areas that you need to be familiar with. So key area number 3, that's the sales process. So inside of the sales process, we need to consider the following. We need to know what that sales process looks like, and we need to create a standard operating procedure or an SOP around that process so that we know that this step happens and then this step happens and then this step happens. Make it easy for yourself, make it easy for the client. We also need to know what the offer process looks like, because remember, you don't have to sit there just waiting and hoping and praying for sales to come in or for clients to inquire. We can make offers to people who have been warmed up in our audience, and we need to understand what that offer making process looks like as well. It will be different for every business. All right. Area number 3 in this is, run ads when it makes sense, but only if you've done the foundational work in the areas that I'm about to talk about right now. So this area here, key area number 2, that's the generating of leads. And this is really important because, again, in order to make sales, we have to have leads. So inside of this process, we need to have clear calls to action that lead people to inquiring, that lead people to joining our lists, that make the invite so that people will join us. We want to make sure that we've got a good amount of social proof floating out there, either on your website, on your socials, in your email, on a flyer that you put up in the local Dairy Queen, whatever it is, having good social proof that tells people that, hey, the experience here in my business is a positive one. Here's what a former or a current client says, former client says, whatever you have. And we want to make sure that we are making the invite for people to take that next step in the process, whether it's through an inquiry form or it's signing up for a freebie or just an invitation to join the email list and learn more. We've got to generate those leads. Now let's take it one step further back, and that becomes key area number 1, and that is building the audience. So this is where we want to create content that speaks to our ideal clients. So in order for that to happen, we need to understand who those ideal clients are. And if you've never done ideal client work before, there's so many different resources out there that can help you when it comes to understanding your ideal client. If you'd like any resources from Savvy Music Studio, let me know. I'll hook you up. And finally, we need to be findable, right? You need to be findable so that people can come across you in a search. People will hear about you from human beings in the local area. So we need to think about, how are you networking? How are you getting your business known out there in real life, on the internets, all of those good things. Okay, so those are our 3 key areas. If you have enjoyed today's broadcast, take a moment and show me a little appreciation down below with some of these or some of these. And remember to subscribe to the channel here. And you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, all of the places. So thank you so much for being here, everyone. I hope that this was a helpful conversation to you. And I will be back next Wednesday for more goodness and business and mindset and marketing for you. And in the meantime, until then, stay savvy and stay you, because you are an amazing teacher and there's no one in the world quite like you. And I think you are pretty dang awesome. We'll see you next time.